I decided to sit over here this time. Not sure why, but here we are. Yup. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek video. I am Phil, the Glacial Geek, and today I'm going to be talking to you about something that I don't think really gets addressed. We see a lot of people talking about in videos and advice about very specific things, like what list to do, what units to buy, what strategies to use in particular games. But to me, I kind of wanted to go over like the bigger, broader picture on how to actually get success in Warhammer 40k. And this also kind of works to any kind of game system. 40k is the one I have experience with, so I'll kind of like express my personal journey along those lines, but also because just kind of like to encapsulate it, to keep in mind, it's part of this process that I've been going through where I'm trying to be more cognizant and self-aware of myself and my actions and what I'm doing in regards to the hobby especially, and just trying to understand why it is I do certain things, understand why I would want to do certain things, and what I can do differently or better or what. Trying to understand where I'm going, and also to focus on the fact that I'm trying to find the joy in the hobby and make that like a goal of what I'm doing, which is going to get towards like these 5 kind of ideas on how to attain success in Warhammer 40k. This leads us to our first kind of point of topic, which is you need to define what success is for you in particular. One person's success is not going to be another person's success. For instance, someone might consider it being successful at 40k because they're able to play a game of 40k every week. Someone might find it, their point of success might be a completely painted army that they get to bring to a tournament. Someone else's might be a podium finish at an RTT. Someone's might be a podium finish at a GT. Some of them might be to go to the World Championships. The whole point is that my goal, my success, my level that I would consider myself to be successful is not the same from yours. And the first step to finding success is knowing what it is that you're looking for. Find out what it is that you want to attain. So if you are into the game and playing the game, have an idea of what being successful at the game means to you. Is it not having to look up everything that your army does as you're playing the game? Is it memorizing some of the stats for the units that you use more often? Is it coming up with a list that doesn't just get raffled and learning the concepts of making a list and knowing now that you can go into situations and build a list and come with it and not be just completely wiped off the table? Is your level of success actually winning games? And if it is, what does that look like? Is it just beating your friend finally? Is it beating like someone else at the local game store on the Thursday night games? Or is it actually going to like a major tournament and performing well enough to make it to the top cut, finish in the top 3, or actually win the whole thing? Only you can understand what it is to be successful. And this can change over time. Like as you start to get better and better, you can be like, hey, maybe I will, like, I've been able to consistently win on Thursday nights. Maybe I'll enter into a tournament, a local tournament, or a tournament in a city next door, like the next city over. And then you go and you compete in it and you do better at that. And you go, well, maybe now my level of success is this. But you have to be cognizant of where you're at, what it is that you're looking to go towards, and understand that that may change, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you are now defining what success is so you can actually feel the benefit of attaining success. Because if you just go, oh, whatever it happens, I'm just going to try to get better, you're never going to attain success in that direction. Because as you get better, your goals are going to keep getting different, and you're moving the goalposts without documenting the fact that you were able to score. And you need to, even if it's not on the actual piece of paper, even if it's just mentally or in your heart, you have to be able to document that so that this becomes something that's actually doable, something that you want to be working towards, because it has to be something. And if you just go in and you pick up your first box of minis and you go, my level of success is winning the world championships, you're not doing it right, because that's not success. That's setting a goal that may be attainable, but you have no idea, and there's no way to work towards that. And you need to have these steps, these successes that you can attain, that you can then go to bigger and better things. It doesn't mean you're done with wargaming once you've beat your friend, but it does mean that you have attained success. You have successfully completed the mission for yourself, and that's important. And you need to be self-aware enough to know what it is that you're gunning towards and how you're going to get there. Which brings us to our second point, which is set realistic expectations. So like I talked about here just now about like attaining levels of success, what it is that you want to do, you need to set realistic expectations. So if you just picked up a paintbrush and you set the expectation that you're going to win the Slayer Sword at Golden Demon, that's not a realistic expectation, because there's no way for you to plot and work towards doing that from the start. What you can say is, I want to have a completely painted unit for my Thursday night games, and you can work towards it, you can accomplish it, and then you can go, now I want to do more. But you've accomplished that goal, you've attained success, and you are now building towards something bigger. Or you reach a point where you're like, I'm good with this. But until you start to set realistic expectations, things that you can achieve and attain that are legitimate, that you can actually have documented like proof that you've done, there's no way for you to actually get that sense of accomplishment that this is towards. Because the only way to be successful is to be happy with yourself and what you're doing. So is it playing a certain number of games? Is it going to tournaments? Is it going to bigger tournaments? Is it doing well at these tournaments? As you keep going better and better, that's what you do. But you have to set realistic expectations. So I am going to play a game of 40K. I am going to win a game of 40K. I am going to go to I'm going to go to the Thursday night game play and play different people. I'm going to go to a local RTT. I'm going to an RTT in this next city over. I'm going to go to a GT. Those are 6 completely separate goals that you're going towards. If you go, I'm going to win a GT, you've skipped over all of this other success, and mentally and in your heart, you're not going to feel it, and you're not going to have the drive to keep working towards it. They have to be realistic expectations that can then grow. So if you paint up your first model, then you paint up your first squad, then you paint up your first army, then you win your first painting competition, you can then start to set it towards where I am now going to go towards wanting to win the Slayer Sword. But you can't get to that being a realistic expectation until you've built yourself up to that point that becomes a realistic expectation. So set your levels, set what it is that is success for you realistically, and you can attain them. And that will keep your momentum, that will keep you building towards success in this hobby. The third concept to being successful is to set the goals for yourself. Do not let anyone else, don't let me tell you what your goal should be. I'm not here to tell you that you need to be setting it that I'm going to play 15 games in 3 months. That's not my job. It's not for you to have to listen to me tell you what success is. You need to understand what it is that you want and set those goals that are realistic, that are attainable, that are a sign of success for you, and set those goals yourself. No one else can tell you what those goals are. You can't just download the list of goals from the internet and decide that that's how it's going to go, because that is setting you up for disappointment. That's setting you up for failure. And the whole point of this is to set yourself up for success in this hobby. And only you know where you're at. Only you know what it is that you want. And then you set those goals from there. You can talk to other people. You can get ideas. You can listen to this video about like formulating those goals. But only you can actually set them. No one else can tell you what it is that you need to do. You need to be the one that understands what it is that you want to do. You can get help getting there. So say you want to, like your goal is to paint a whole squad, but you've never painted a model before. You can look on tutorials online. You can go to your friend who's a big painter. You can go into the local game store and talk to the people behind the counter, see if they know anyone who can give you some tips, advice, and help you towards your goal. But only you can set the goal of wanting that full squad done. Because there are plenty of people who only want to paint one model. And if I come up here and say your goal should be to paint an entire squad, the people who only want to paint one model would not attain that success, because that's not what they're driven towards. That's not what they actually want. And when they have that full squad, that's not going to bring them the same kind of joy as painting 5 different models. So only you can understand what it is that you want, and only you can set those goals that you want to attain to achieve success. You can get the help in between, but only you can set those goals, and you need to be able to set those goals if you want to be able to be working towards something that is of value to you and not just value to someone else. The 4th key is the hard one: putting in the work. You have to put in the work towards this. So if you set a goal of playing a game of Warhammer 40K, if you don't read the rule book, if you don't get dice, if you don't schedule a game with your friend, if you don't go to the Thursday night game at your local game store, you're never going to accomplish it. You can't just say, I want to play a game of 40K and then just like sit back and hope that that James Workshop himself comes down and takes your hand and makes you go play a game, at Nottingham. What you need to do is you need to put in the work. So find out if your local store has a 40K game night. Find out if your local store has a local tournament that's going to be going on. Find out if your friend has some time on the weekend that you can play. And maybe it comes down to that you don't know anyone that's playing, you don't have a local game store, in which case what you have to do to accomplish your goal of playing a game of 40K might be building up 2 armies so that you and your friend can play on the weekend and learn together. So everyone's situation is going to be different in how they get there, but you have to always put in the work. It might be super easy. Your friend, like your goal of playing a game of Warhammer 40K might just be ask your friend who has 13 fully painted armies if he's free on Saturday. He probably will be, because if he has 13 armies, he wants to get those on the table. And he's going to be very happy to try to show you what's going on. And then you will play your game and you'll achieve it. It'll be a lot easier than just the guy who's out, who might be out like 2 hours from their local game store, has their friend that they hang out on the weekends with, but has no interest in actually building or painting an army. It might come down to you building up the starter set and saying, let's do this on Saturday instead of playing Settlers of Catan or whatever. Most times if they're your friend, they're willing to put in at least a Saturday. And then you get an idea. You've accomplished your goal of playing a game of Warhammer 40K. You've given your friend the chance to be exposed to what it is that's piqued your interest. And you get a better idea of what the game is about. Or maybe it's that you want to play in a GT. In which case you have to put in the work of understanding your army, building your army, painting your army. Because a lot of GTs have a paint requirement. It's not just that you'll lose the 10 points. A lot of GTs have a paint requirement. So part of playing at a GT as your goal needs to be building and painting an army that you can go and play with. It means keeping up with the points changes, because those are more important in a GT than they are with a friendly game in your basement. It means understanding your rules, because you don't want to get there and not know how to play the game at all, because the person you're playing at the GT is coming with the expectation that you're playing a competitive game. So you don't want to put them in a position where they have to lead you hand by hand through it. If you're going into something like a friendly or like a casual thing, then the expectations are lesser. But if your goal is to play in a GT, you have to put in the work to arrive at that GT ready to play. And that's the hardest part of all of this. And that's also why it's so important to do all those other steps beforehand. Because the only way to keep yourself motivated through all of this, through all of the work that it's going to take to get to those goals, is to set realistic goals that you want to reach and that you have defined as a form of success. Because if you just say, I'm going to win the world championships, I better go buy the starter set and learn how to do 40K, there's no way that you can envision your way forward from there. Because there's so many steps in between that it's impossible, honestly, to set a roadmap from there. Because for that to be an actual attainable goal, there are so many other goals that need to happen between then to make it to the point, get it to the point where you can actually do that as an actual thing that you want to attain. My friend Scary from Scarcast, he wants to win the world championship. He wants to be the top of the ITC points for Drukhari. And that's an attainable goal for him because he's really, really good. He's played a gajillion games. He has plenty of painted models that he will always come with the hardest list fully painted to these tournaments, and he knows what he's doing. and he knows how to play, and he knows how to win. He's also an incredible person, so that's all beautiful. But his actual goal of wanting to be the top of the ITC points that he's on this mission towards, to then hopefully win the world championship, that's an attainable goal for him. If I'm being honest, it's not an attainable goal for me. It's just not me. Like, I know that that's not an attainable goal for me, and I have not set that as a goal because there's no reason for me to set that goal other than to be disappointed in myself, which is pointless to me. Because understanding what it is that you will be happy with is all about setting those goals. And that's also what you can work towards. So if you don't want to win the top of the ITC, you don't need to paint 3 of every unit in your chosen army. Because even if like it's the meta to bring 3 of one unit, if you don't want to build and paint those, you don't have to. You just need 2,000 points worth to go to a tournament with. And if you don't win all 5 games and come back with the trophy, if that wasn't your goal, who cares? You don't have to go with the top meta list to a GT. You got to go with a list that's going to help you get what it is that you want. So if you want to win, then yes, you do. But if you don't want to win the GT, and you're just happy going and trying to win all your games, then you don't have to worry about that. So you don't need that meta list. You can bring the list that you like. You can bring the list that you want to play, as long as you're okay with that end goal. If you can come back from your GT 1-4 and still be happy because you went, you played, you had fun, you got to nerd out for an entire weekend, you learned, and you just got better, then it doesn't matter what your list is. But if you are going to come back at 1-4 and be upset and be like miserable in that last game that you're playing because this is not what you wanted to do, then you need to do more work. You need to practice more. You need to make a list that is like as sharp and hard-nosed as you can possibly make it. You need to invest in those units that are the meta units, because at that point you have a responsibility that if your goal is actually to win, then you need to put in the work that leads up towards it. And to not do it means that you're failing yourself. So I'm not saying you have to buy all the meta lists units. I'm not saying you have to play the meta armies. But if the realistic goal that you have set you're gonna find happiness, that you're gonna find joy in this hobby with, is the actual winning of these big tournaments, then at that point you do. Because that's what it is. GTs don't require you to bring meta lists. GTs don't require you to bring meta units. GTs do require you to understand what it is that you're looking to get out of them, and then go to them with that appropriate level of work that you've put into it. Because that's what it comes down to at the end. All of these things are all about self-awareness. And that leads us to the final and perhaps most important key to success in this hobby, and that is to have fun. I know it sounds simple. I know it sounds just like trite, and it sounds like a thing that like, oh great, it's just a throwaway. I put it at the end of every one of my videos, but I put it there for a reason. Because this hobby needs to be fun. If it is not fun, if you are not enjoying it, then you're doing it wrong, or maybe it's not for you. That's the purest form of this. Because nothing about Warhammer 40K, nothing about any wargaming is required. If I stopped 40K tomorrow, I would not wake up dead. I mean, I might, but that would be a weird circumstance. It would be because I gave up Warhammer 40K. It's not required. It is not eating. It is not breathing. It is not having shelter. It is not having clothes. It is a hobby. It is something that is meant to bring betterment to us, happiness, joy. It is something that is supposed to be that is supposed to bring something above just the bare necessities of existence. And because of that, it is not required or necessary. So if it is not bringing you joy, you do not need to be doing it. So be very self-aware of the joy aspect, of the fun aspect. If you are going to tournaments and you're not having fun at them, tournaments are not for you. If playing other people other than your best friend does not bring you joy, playing other people that are not your best friend is not a goal for you. If you don't like painting and it is miserable, then don't do it. If you do have a goal of wanting to win a GT, then you have to make some exceptions to that. It might be that you instead buy a painted army from a commission studio or something like that. Or you pay your friend to paint it up, and it maybe not commission level, but hey, it's a painted army. Your friend could use a few bucks. At the end of the day, you have a duty to yourself to be self-aware enough to know that, is this bringing me joy? Is this fun? And if the answer is no, you need to figure out why. If the answer is yes, lean into it. Perhaps you thought that what you wanted to do was make a fully painted army to go to a GT. And all of a sudden you find yourself enjoying the painting part way more than the playing part. I mean, there's a reason I'm not doing battle reports anymore. There's a reason that I'm leaning into more hobby side of things, is because I found myself finding more joy in the painting and hobbying aspect than the game. Don't get me wrong, I still love playing, and I'm still on top of it, and I will continue to play games. I'm still the gamer of the factory team. But for me, I realized that my goal was to be able to enjoy the hobby, to be able to push myself in that aspect of the hobby. That's where the fun was for me. So instead of trying to speed rush through 1,000 units every other week in order to make it for a battle report or a tournament or something like that, I allowed myself to just take some time. Even the Emperor's Children army that I was doing, it was not rushed. It was done in a short period of time, but I put in a lot of hours. So this wasn't a last minute job that I did. I put in the work that needed to be done, and I got a product that I am very, very proud of. And that brings me more joy than like anything else, if I'm being honest. And it's that realization that only comes when you are fully aware of yourself and understand what it is that you're feeling and thinking. You know, because for years I did battle reports. That's all I did. I only did battle reports. And then I did a few like deep thoughts, thin coats things. And I liked those a lot. But I was doing battle reports because I'm the battle report guy. I do battle reports. That's what I do. If I'm not doing battle reports, what am I doing? And then I realized that the question I had set there, that the goal I had set there was not something that was bringing me joy. And at the end of the day, it's a hobby. It's still a hobby. You know I do this for like a living, but it's still a hobby. And if I'm doing this for a living and it's not enjoyable, there are way more options for jobs that are not enjoyable to do that pay way better than miniature wargaming YouTuber, you know? So at that point, I would be forced to be like, if all I want to do is just do this to make money, I can do that as an accountant. I'm a smart guy. I could learn that. I could go to school and learn that. You know, I have a college degree in political science. I could go and get a job. I could study and become a lawyer. But the fact is, I love this hobby. I love what this hobby allows me to do. I love playing games. I love painting and building, and kit bashing is like this new world for me that I never had the opportunity to really explore when I was just trying to pump out units for battle reports. And I would never have gotten to this point of finding this joy if I listened to what other people told me I should be doing. And you will not be able to find this joy and find success in the hobby if you don't listen to yourself. So find the joy, have fun, follow that route, and then set goals. If I want to be a better painter, I need to set goals for that. So I have been. I've entered into 2 painting contests now. I haven't won anything yet, but I've entered. And that was my goal. Last year at Nova, I wanted to enter in, my goal was to enter a submission. And I entered in a diorama. It was awesome. It was so fun to do it. I'd never done anything like it in my life. And it was so much fun. And I had a piece that I am very proud of. I know it didn't win. It may not be an award winner. But in my heart, it opened up an opportunity for me to explore something that I have absolutely loved. Last month at Adepticon, I entered into the Resin Beast competition. I had 2 pieces. I had one that was a big flying demon prince. He was going to be part of my Emperor's Children army, but I painted him with the expectation I was entering him into Resin Beast. It was a creature caster model that I was using as a substitute, or as a stand-in. No. Proxy? No. Whatever. I was using it as an alternative model to the Demon Prince. It was a creature caster model, and I wanted to enter him into the Resin Beast competition. And I did. I painted him. I put in a lot of hours into him. I probably put more hours into him than like any other unit. Oh man, a lot of those units combined. I put in probably a good solid week worth of work into painting him alone. And then I had 3 weeks to paint the rest of the army. And I loved it. I also painted a Dippet. This was available from Creature Caster too. You can check it out. It was a lot of fun to paint him up, and I felt like it was a really fun exploration of just like some creativity painting it. And that's the point, is I was gonna enter this competition. And I didn't win, but I really had a lot of fun doing it. And that, to me, was attaining success. So I was very successful in my painting journey. Next step, maybe it is I set a goal of winning a prize. You know, maybe I'd try to win a prize at Golden Demon next year. Maybe at Nova this year, I set a goal of attaining like a prize. I don't think I'm going to set the goal of winning the Slayer Sword, because that would be unattainable. And I don't even know what the process to getting there would look like at this point. So I wouldn't be following those steps that I talked about. But I can set a goal of wanting to win, do enough to win like one of the bronze, like the acknowledged entries for Nova. And I think I will. So I'm going to work towards that and have fun doing it. And that is what it takes to be successful. So let me know down below in the comments what you think it takes to be successful. You know, do you think that the only way to be successful is to grind out 5 games a night and just like sit there and only do this? That's the only way to win. I mean, if you want to be the world champion, maybe. But is that your goal? Should it be your goal? Do you really want it to be your goal? Do some self-thought, do some self-reflection. Take a moment to breathe and think about and listen to yourself, because it's important. But yeah, let me know what your steps have been, what your goals are. Yeah, do that. That's the one. That's a good one. Set down a realistic expectation that you want to set for yourself, a goal that you can achieve. Have it be something that is attainable. Have it be something that you know you've achieved when you achieve it. So don't just say, I want to get better at the game, because better at the game keeps moving the goalpost before you can score. But saying, I want to win a game, that, once you win it, boom, the klaxons go off, you scored a goal. Now, you change the goal because you want to do better. I want to win a tournament. Unless you come back with the tournament win, you haven't attained your goal. But set it, understand it, and then put in the work towards getting to it, and make sure you are having fun along the journey. And there is nothing wrong with deciding that that is not the goal that you want. So if you set a goal of winning a tournament and you realize that I don't want to put in the practice with the same list so that I know it back and forth and I can just hit the ground running, then you can come back and be like, I just want to set a goal of going to a tournament. I just want to set a goal of going to 5 tournaments in a year, playing 15 games. Set that, you know? Set a goal of getting a friend into the hobby. Whatever it is, make sure that it is something that you feel passionate about, that brings you joy, and that you can work towards, and that has a set goal that you can achieve. and put it down below, and we'll have the conversation and we can talk. You know, everyone can help each other, like give some advice on how they think that things to give them advice on how to take those steps. But remember, at the end of the day, it is you who is going to be trying to achieve these goals, not, you know, some guy 305 in the comments section, or even the Glacial Geek. I can give my advice, I can give some thoughts. I will not be able to tell you what it is that you need to do specifically to achieve those goals, because it may not be the right thing. You can take and leave everyone's advice. Doesn't matter if they're the world champion, doesn't matter if they're a member of the Army Painter Factory team. None of that makes a person the final arbiter of what it is that you should be doing, because no one can tell you what is going to be fun for you. No one can tell you what is going to bring joy for you other than yourself. So listen to the advice, take the advice that you want, leave the advice you don't want, and then keep working towards your goal. I know I mentioned it before, but I am a member of the Army Painters Factory team, and with that has come a lot of things for me personally in my life and in my career. And I know that I would not be able to do that if it wasn't for you, the people who are watching this video right now, and the people who have shared, liked, subscribed throughout this 10-year journey that I've taken. I think it's been 10 years in July that I will have been making YouTube videos about miniature wargaming, which is mind-boggling to me. But with that appreciation for what it is that you guys have done to help me get to where I am, I made sure that when I made my contract negotiations for my contract with the Army Painter Factory team, I made sure to negotiate to get a code to give you guys something back for all the help that you have given me to get to where I am. So if you go to the Army Painter and use the code FactoryGeek5, you can save yourself 5% off of any of their products. So if you are deciding that you're going to have a fully painted army and that's your goal you're going to set, go on over there, get yourself some Rattlecam primers, get yourself some Fanatic War paints. You can get yourself the air paints if you decide that maybe you want to set a goal of learning how to use an airbrush. The airbrush paints from the Army Painter are fantastic. They just go straight into the airbrush from the bottle, no need to thin them, and that was always the thing that kept me from being able to fully use an airbrush, is the thinning of it. I could never do it right. I either over-thinned or under-thinned. Their airbrush paints do not need thinning. So they are the best route towards you being able to figure out how to use an airbrush. And, you know, who knows, maybe in the future you decide you want to use some other paints, but they will help you along that journey to get to where you want to be. You can get 5% off with that code there. And if you are a Patreon member, first of all, thank you very much for all of the support that you have given me. There is a 10% code behind the paywall there that the Army Painter wanted me to keep it behind the paywall because they wanted it to be an extra thank you to those who have more directly helped to support this channel. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I certainly have. I have been Phil, the Glacial Geek, as always. And until next time, stay safe and have fun.